Jessica Martinez was staring at the consent form on her kitchen table, her hands trembling as she held the pen. The form was titled Altruistic Kidney Donation, Living Donor Consent. In simple terms, she was agreeing to have major surgery to remove one of her healthy kidneys and give it to a complete stranger. "Jessica, please think about this," her mother Maria said for the 100th time. "You don't know this person. What if you need that kidney someday? What if your own children need you healthy?" Her sister Carmen added. "This is insane." Jessica looked at her family gathered around her kitchen table. Her parents, her 2 sisters, her brother Carlos. All of them thought she was making the biggest mistake of her life. But Jessica couldn't shake the feeling that she was meant to do this. "I'm a nurse," Jessica said quietly. "Every day, I see people dying because they can't get organ transplants. I'm healthy. I'm young. I have 2 perfectly good kidneys, and I only need one to live a normal life." "But why you?" her father asked. "Why should you sacrifice your body for a stranger?" Jessica had been asking herself that same question for months. It started when she attended a medical conference about organ donation. She learned that over 90,000 Americans were on the kidney transplant waiting list. She learned that 17 people die every day waiting for organs that never come. But a statistic that haunted Jessica was this: the average wait time for a kidney transplant was 5 years. 5 years of dialysis. 5 years of being tethered to a machine. 5 years of watching your life slip away while hoping for a miracle. "Someone out there is dying," Jessica said to her family. "Someone with children, with dreams, with people who love them. If I can save that person, how can I not try?" Jessica signed the consent form that night. What she didn't know was that her decision would save not just one life, but dozens of lives in ways she could never have imagined. And one of those lives would be closer to home than she ever expected. If this story truly touches your heart, let it speak for you. Like this video, subscribe to be part of our journey, and share your feelings in the comments. The next 6 months were a whirlwind of medical testing, psychological evaluations, and paperwork. Jessica had to prove she was physically and mentally healthy enough to donate a kidney. She underwent blood tests, imaging studies, interviews with social workers, and meetings with transplant coordinators. "Are you sure about this?" asked Dr. Sarah Kim, the transplant surgeon who performed Jessica's surgery. "This is major surgery with real risks. You could have complications. You could have problems with your remaining kidney in the future." "I understand the risks," Jessica replied. "But I also understand that someone will die if they don't get a kidney." Dr. Kim nodded with respect. Altruistic donors are rare. Most living kidney donations are between family members or close friends. What you're doing is extraordinary. The hardest part was the psychological evaluation. Dr. Michael Torres, the transplant psychiatrist, grilled Jessica for hours about her motivations. "Are you doing this for attention? Are you trying to prove something? Are you struggling with depression or suicidal thoughts?" "None of those things," Jessica answered honestly. "I'm doing this because I believe every life has value, and I have the power to save someone. But you'll never meet this person. You'll never know how your sacrifice impacts their life. That's okay. I don't need recognition. I just need to know I helped." Jessica passed all the evaluations and was approved as an altruistic kidney donor. Now came the process of finding a recipient. The transplant team explained that Jessica's kidney would go to the person at the top of the compatible recipient list. "Based on your blood type and tissue compatibility, we have several potential recipients," explained transplant coordinator Lisa Chun. "But there's one patient who's been waiting the longest and is the best match." "Can you tell me about them?" "His name is Mark Thompson. He's 35 years old, married with 3 children. He's been on dialysis for 5 years. His kidney disease is genetic, so none of his family members can donate to him." Jessica felt a connection to the stranger immediately. A father with 3 children who had been waiting 5 years for a chance to live normally again. "When can we do the surgery?" "If you're sure about this decision, we can schedule it for next month." Jessica was sure, but she had no idea that Mark Thompson's story was about to become intertwined with hers in ways that would change both their families forever. Jessica wasn't supposed to meet Mark before the surgery. Altruistic donations were typically anonymous, with donor and recipient never knowing each other's identities. But 3 days before the scheduled surgery, Jessica got a call from Lisa Chun. "Jessica, I have an unusual request. Mark Thompson's wife, Sarah, asked if she could meet you before the surgery. She wants to thank you in person. Is that allowed?" It's not typical, but if both parties consent, we can arrange a brief meeting. Jessica agreed immediately. She met Sarah Thompson in the hospital cafeteria the day before surgery. Sarah was a petite woman with tired eyes that lit up the moment she saw Jessica. "You must be Jessica. I can't believe you're real." Sarah started crying immediately. "I'm sorry. I promised myself I wouldn't cry. But you're saving my husband's life, and I don't know how to thank you." Jessica hugged the stranger who was about to become family. "Tell me about Mark." Sarah's face transformed with love as she talked about her husband. "He's the best man I've ever known. He's been sick for 7 years, but he never complains. He still coaches our daughter's soccer team from his wheelchair. He still helps our boys with homework, even when he's exhausted from dialysis." Sarah showed Jessica photos on her phone. Mark with his 3 children at a baseball game. Mark teaching his daughter to ride a bike despite being weak from treatment. Mark and Sarah on their wedding day, both looking young and healthy and hopeful. "The doctors say he has maybe 6 months left if he doesn't get a transplant," Sarah said quietly. "His body is shutting down. The dialysis isn't working as well anymore." Jessica realized she wasn't just saving a stranger's life. She was saving a father, a husband, a man who was desperately needed by his family. "Can I meet him?" Jessica asked. "Are you sure?" He's not in great shape right now." "I'm sure." Sarah led Jessica to Mark's hospital room, where he was receiving his pre-surgery dialysis treatment. Mark Thompson was thinner than Jessica expected, but his smile was radiant when Sarah introduced her. "You're Jessica? You're the angel who's saving my life." Jessica sat down beside Mark's bed. "I'm not an angel. I'm just someone who wants to help." "Why?" Mark asked the question everyone had been asking. "Why would you do this for someone you don't even know?" Jessica had given this answer dozens of times, but saying it to Mark felt different. "Because your life matters. Because your children need their father. Because your wife loves you. Because if I can help you live, then my life has meaning too." Mark started crying. "I don't know how to repay you. You don't need to repay me. Just live. Just be healthy. Just love your family." Jessica left the hospital that day knowing she was making the right decision, but she had no idea how much more complicated and beautiful this story was about to become. The surgery took place on a Tuesday morning in March. Jessica's family filled the surgical waiting room, still worried but supportive of her decision. Mark's family was in a different waiting room, praying for both the donor and recipient. Dr. Kim and her team performed both surgeries simultaneously. Jessica's kidney was removed through minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery. The kidney was immediately transported to the adjacent operating room, where Mark was waiting. Both surgeries went perfectly. Jessica woke up in recovery feeling sore but triumphant. "How did it go?" she asked the recovery nurse. "Perfectly. Your kidney is already working beautifully in the recipient." Jessica felt a joy she had never experienced before. Somewhere in the hospital, a stranger was waking up with her kidney, and his life was beginning again. Jessica's recovery took 3 days in the hospital and several weeks at home. Mark's recovery was longer and more complicated, but the results were miraculous. For the first time in 7 years, Mark's blood tests were normal. His energy returned gradually. His appetite came back. His skin regained a healthy color. But the most dramatic change was psychological. "I feel like I have my life back," Mark told Sarah. "I feel like I can make plans again, dream about the future again." Jessica and Mark stayed in touch through the transplant coordinator. "Please tell him I'm thinking about his recovery," Jessica would say. "Please tell her that our whole family prays for her every night," Mark would respond. But the real connection between their families was just beginning. 6 weeks after the surgery, Mark was healthy enough to return to work. He asked the transplant coordinator if he could send a thank you letter to Jessica. The letter read, "Dear Jessica, I don't have words big enough to thank you for what you've done. Because of your kidney, I was able to attend my daughter Emma's piano recital last week. I was able to take my sons camping last weekend. I was able to make love to my wife again without being exhausted and sick. You didn't just save my life. You saved my family. If you're ever willing, I would love to meet you properly and introduce you to the children whose father you saved. With eternal gratitude, Mark Thompson. Jessica cried reading the letter. She called the transplant coordinator immediately. I'd like to meet the Thompson family. The meeting was arranged for the following weekend. Jessica drove to the Thompson house nervous and excited. When Mark opened the door, Jessica barely recognized him. The thin, tired man she'd met in the hospital had been replaced by someone vibrant and healthy. Jessica, you look amazing. How are you feeling? I feel great. But look at you. You look incredible. Mark's children were shy at first, but Emma, age 10, walked up to Jessica with a handmade card. Thank you for saving my daddy, Emma said simply. Jessica started crying immediately. The boys, ages 8 and 12, showed Jessica around their house and introduced her to their dog. Sarah cooked dinner, and the family spent the evening getting to know each other. Jessica learned that Mark was a high school history teacher who loved coaching sports. Mark learned that Jessica was a pediatric nurse who volunteered at a free clinic. We're both in the business of helping people, Mark observed. I guess we are, Jessica agreed. By the end of the evening, Jessica felt like she'd gained a second family. But the most extraordinary part of their story was still to come. 3 months after Jessica's donation, Sarah Thompson made an announcement that would change everything. I want to become a kidney donor too. Mark was shocked. Sarah, why? You don't need to do this. Jessica showed us what one person's generosity can do. She saved your life and gave our family hope again. I want to give that gift to another family. Sarah had been inspired by Jessica's example to become an altruistic donor herself. There's someone else out there waiting for a kidney, struggling the way Mark was struggling. If I can help them the way Jessica helped us, I have to do it. Sarah began the donation process and was approved as a living donor. Her kidney went to Patricia Rodriguez, a 28-year-old teacher who had been on dialysis for 3 years. Patricia's husband, Miguel, was so moved by Sarah's generosity that he decided to donate his kidney to help someone else. Miguel's kidney went to David Chun, a 45-year-old father too. David's sister Lisa was inspired to donate in honor of her brother's new lease on life. Lisa's kidney went to Marcus Williams, a 33-year-old veteran. Marcus's wife, Jennifer, decided to pay the generosity forward. And the chain continued. Each recipient's family felt so grateful that someone in their family would donate a kidney to help another stranger. Jessica's single act of kindness was creating a chain reaction of generosity that was saving life after life. The transplant team had never seen anything like it. This is unprecedented. Dr. Kim told Jessica, "Your donation has created the longest chain of altruistic kidney donations we've ever documented." How many people have been helped so far? 12 transplants and counting. And there are more donors in the pipeline. Jessica was amazed that her decision had had such far-reaching impact. But the most incredible part of the chain was still to come. 18 months after Jessica's original donation, the chain had grown to 47 successful kidney transplants. 47 people whose lives had been saved because Jessica decided to help a stranger. Jessica had stayed in touch with many of the donor and recipient families. They had become a close-knit community of people connected by generosity and life-saving gifts. At the 1-year anniversary celebration of the donation chain, Jessica was giving a speech to all the donors and recipients. "I never imagined that helping one person could create this ripple effect," Jessica said to the gathered crowd. "Each of you has proven that kindness is contagious, that love multiplies when we share it." After her speech, Jessica was approached by a woman she didn't recognize. "Jessica, my name is Dr. Amanda Rodriguez. I need to tell you something incredible." Dr. Rodriguez was a transplant coordinator from a hospital in Texas. 6 months ago, we received a kidney for one of our patients through your donation chain. The recipient was a 32-year-old man who had been waiting for 4 years. "That's wonderful. I'm so glad we could help." Jessica, the recipient's name was Carlos Martinez. Jessica's world stopped spinning. Carlos Martinez was her brother's name. I'm sorry, could you repeat that? The kidney recipient was Carlos Martinez from San Antonio. According to his medical records, his emergency contact is listed as Jessica Martinez, his sister. Jessica felt like she was going to faint. Are you telling me that my brother received a kidney through the donation chain that I started? Yes. Carlos was one of the 47 people saved by the chain reaction that began with their donation to Mark Thompson. Jessica had no idea that her brother Carlos had kidney disease. Carlos lived in San Antonio, and they hadn't spoken much in the past 2 years due to family tensions. Jessica immediately called Carlos. Carlos, it's Jessica. I need to ask you something. Did you receive a kidney transplant 6 months ago? Carlos was quiet for a moment. Yes. How did you know? I didn't tell the family because I didn't want everyone to worry. Carlos, I'm the person who started the donation chain that led to your transplant. What do you mean? Jessica explained the entire story. How she had donated her kidney to Mark Thompson. How that had inspired a chain of donations that had saved 47 lives, including his own. Carlos started crying. You saved my life, and you didn't even know it. How long have you been sick? 3 years. I didn't tell anyone because I was embarrassed. I was ashamed that I couldn't take care of myself. Jessica realized that her decision to help a stranger had ultimately saved her own brother's life. If you made it all the way here, it means this story truly held you. So don't leave without showing some love. Hit like, subscribe to stay with us, and drop a comment. I'll be here, reading every word you share. 2 years after Jessica's original kidney donation, the chain had grown to 73 successful transplants. 73 people were alive and healthy because Jessica Martinez decided to give a kidney to a stranger named Mark Thompson. Jessica and Mark's families had become so close they spent holidays together. Jessica was a godmother to Mark and Sarah's 4th child, born 2 years after Mark's transplant. Carlos moved back to Jessica's city, and they rebuilt their relationship. I can't believe my sister saved my life without knowing it, Carlos would tell people. That's the kind of person Jessica is. She helps people even when she doesn't know she's helping them. The donation chain that began with Jessica became a model for transplant programs across the country. Medical schools teach about the Martinez chain as an example of how altruistic donation can have exponential impact. Jessica became a national spokesperson for organ donation. Her story has convinced hundreds of people to become living donors. People ask me if I regret donating my kidney. Jessica says in her speeches, the answer is that donating my kidney was the best decision I've ever made. It didn't just save Mark Thompson's life. It saved 73 lives, including my own brother's. But more than that, it taught me that we're all connected. That kindness creates more kindness. That love multiplies when we give it away. Jessica still works as a pediatric nurse, but she also travels the country telling her story. Mark Thompson returned to teaching and coaching. He's healthier now than he was before he got sick. The Thompson and Martinez families vacation together every year. Jessica isn't just my kidney donor, Mark tells people. She's family. She's a person who taught me that angels exist, and sometimes they look like nurses from Chicago who are crazy enough to give organs to strangers. At the most recent donation chain reunion, 73 recipients and their families gathered to celebrate life and generosity. Jessica looked around the room at dozens of healthy, happy people who were alive because she made one improbable decision. Children who had their parents back. Spouses who had their partners back. Parents who had their children back. All because Jessica Martinez decided that a stranger's life was worth saving. I went into surgery thinking I was saving one person, Jessica reflected. I never imagined I was starting a movement. But that's what love does. It starts small, with one person choosing to help another person. And then it grows. It spreads. It multiplies. Until one act of kindness becomes 73 miracles. Jessica Martinez gave her kidney to save a stranger. That stranger's gratitude inspired a chain reaction that saved dozens of other lives. One of those lives belonged to Jessica's own brother. Sometimes the greatest gifts we give to others end up being gifts we give to ourselves. Sometimes helping a stranger is how we help the people we love most. And sometimes one person's crazy decision to save a life becomes the beginning of saving the world one kidney at a time.